All know the words, and it certainly gives you goosebumps, especially, Nate, when you think about what's going on in Ukraine. Tony is with us again. He's at the Polish border with Ukraine. He's in the village of a place called Medica. As we've been talking about, Tony is tracking the endless streams of people who are fleeing the war. Tony, good morning to you. The numbers are just staggering when you see the people crossing that border.
Gayle, good morning. The numbers are staggering, and so are the distances. In just the last few minutes here, we've been monitoring the continued arrival of refugees, and just a few moments ago, I took a walk down there and talked to a few, and the wave that we're seeing now is coming from Kharkiv, a town that was in the headlines last week. It is 700 miles away. That gives you an idea of how vast the journey really is to safety here in Poland. It is freezing, and as I mentioned in the last hour, we've seen mothers on their knees feeding their children hot soup before it too goes cold. We have a picture of that I wanted to show you. It's one of those shots here that really gets it. It hits me every time. And the question that everybody in that line behind me has is, when is this going to end? So some news on that front. The U.S. is sending not only humanitarian aid, but also lethal weaponry. And we have seen some of it moving through Poland just today. Multiple giant aircraft, including Air Force C-17s, landing at an airstrip about an hour away from where we're standing. That aircraft you see there, that is the type that's been carrying Javelin anti-tank missiles and Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, which then make their way over the border into Ukraine to help the Ukrainian fight against the Russians. And we also saw on the way to this location this morning a convoy of military vehicles with boxes with U.S. markings on them. They too were headed toward the border. As for the fighting itself, this morning there's another attempt at a ceasefire. We like the sound of that, but there were failed attempts over the weekend, which once again left civilians forced to shelter to avoid Russian shelling. But something we noticed as well, as others flee, some are heading into the fight. On last night's 60 Minutes, you may have seen Scott Pelley's report and his conversation with some Ukrainian men currently living outside of Ukraine who were making the journey back into the country to join the fight. They see themselves as defenders of their country, but also defenders of democracy. And tomorrow we'll have more on that on CBS Mornings. We'll show you it's not only Ukrainians going to join the fight, but Americans as well, traveling here to cross over and join the fight, a fight they see as one for democracy. This border here, Gayle and Nate, is no longer just a border between two countries, but for many, it's being described now as the Eastern Front of the free world.
Yeah, we've been hearing that, Tony. People who have never held a gun before, never been in a war zone, are saying, I'm going, put me in. Thank you very much, Tony. We'll check back in with you a little bit later on.